How you doing, dude?
I'm doing good, man. I mean, I'm doing all right. Like, I'm doing better than like some. I don't
Yeah, are
know.
you keeping
Like,
busy or as busy as you can be, I guess?
yeah, it's weird because so at the beginning of the year before COVID hit, I was doing, I did a couple days up at Sundance, which was really great, and then I did a couple days with uh, Sister Wives as a show, and then the whole quarantine pandemic thing happened, and then I didn't work for like a long time. But then last month I just finished up a pretty big project of mainly remote stuff of like editing this dance studios like digital recital together and stuff, and like renting them equipment and stuff. And so that was really good. And then yeah, I'm kind of on to the next thing. So I got something else going for the next like 4 weeks that I was just working on. Um, but yeah, before that though, from like March until like what month are we in? July.
Yeah.
From March to like June until like June, pretty much, I wasn't like working like at all.
Dude, that's nerve-wracking.
Like mid March to like June is like I had pretty much no income.
Because you're all freelance, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm 100% freelance. So
Yeah, fuck that, dude. That's nerve-wracking. Like before
but
the
I gotta
pandemic,
build up savings, dude.
I know. Like before I hit before the pandemic hit, I had a couple people on talking about freelance. Like I think Casey, like on the first episode, talked about it, and Gabe talked about it, and I was just like, maybe I should make the jump. Like maybe. And then the pandemic happened. I'm like, thank God I did not make the jump.
Right. Well, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's weird though because like freelance, you would think like in the beginning, yeah, for those first months that were like kind of wild between March and June,
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of like worthless as far as like work goes. But between the first part of the year that before COVID hit, and then like this last, month plus the next month that's happening right now, like it's going pretty okay to be honest. Like
That's good.
it's really surprising. I totally thought I was gonna like basically not work at all this entire year, but we're okay.
So
And I mean, luckily I have Kaylee. Kaylee has like a normal job,
yeah,
so I know that if anything were to really hit the fan, you know what I mean? Like we would be okay. Like we'd have to probably eat ramen and shit like that, but like we'd be okay.
yeah. Dude, I eat ramen anyway. It's fun.
Dude, yeah, I was gonna have some after this actually, but
So I found this recipe on, I think it was New York Times. And I didn't know you could do this because like when I like growing up, I always thought it was just like a ramen noodle packet with like the little seasoning packet, right?
Mhm.
I didn't know you could put eggs in it and cheese and substitute the packet for like better, or was it bouillon or whatever it's called?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. Like I had no idea you can actually transfix these
Experiment.
pre-made stuff. Yeah.
No, yeah. What's funny is I didn't know that too for the longest time because when I grew up eating ramen, because I'd eat ramen all the time, like for almost every meal.
Yeah.
And I'd literally just do the packet and the noodles. And what's funny is like, so when I first kind of learned about like being able to like customize your ramen or whatever, is from a guy named Roy Choi. He's like a chef, a famous Asian chef, but he does like American cheese and then like egg and something else or whatever in it. It's super simple. Tried it once and I was like, at first I was like, ew, why would you put American cheese onto your ramen? But before you knock it, it was pretty good though. It's pretty good.
No, seriously. And I told my sisters that, and my one sister freaked out, being like, ew, who does that? Because like I do some weird stuff. Like I'll put mayonnaise on my spaghetti.
Oh, wild! Really? That's wild.
I know, and people are like, you mix it in. No, I'm like, no. You make the spaghetti in the sauce and you put it on the plate, and you just squirt some mayonnaise in the sauce part, and you just mix it all together, dude. And, like, it tastes really good. Like, it's, I don't know. It could be because like spaghetti for me growing up was kind of bland because like that's all my family made. So I have my reasons. So people think that's weird. Yeah, and people think that's weird. And then my sister thought that was weird. I put cheese in it. I'm like, you can't knock it till you try it. And she's like, I bet you just saw it on Reddit. I'm like, no, I saw it on New York Times. Like, it was a recipe from New York Times.
You're like, it's credible. Don't.
Yeah. I'm like, it has 5-star ratings. Like I have like 600 reviews. Like, don't knock it.
Yeah, right. You're like 600 other people agree with me. Okay.
So, that was a thing. But all right,
No,
let's have you introduce yourself so the people could put the voice to the face and the face to the voice.
Okay. I'm Jonathan.
Hi, Jonathan.
And yeah, I know it's like an AA meeting. I am local to Salt Lake as everyone else is probably, and yeah, I like studying cinematography and filmmaking and all that good jazz, and yeah, it's fun.
Hell yeah, dude.
That was the worst intro, dude. Oh well.
No, you're good, man. No, thanks for coming on. So I reached out to Deuce. He was 2 episodes ago. And then I'm like, oh my God, I have to have Jonathan on. Like, after I got done with him. And I know you've been talking to me about it. And I'm like, I have to make it happen. Like, I have to make it happen, you know? So.
Well, yeah. I mean, it sounded really cool because, like, when you were first doing it, well, what's funny is, like, a couple years back, I had started something similar. You know, but I just, at the time, I just was not like consistent enough to really turn it into anything real other than like an episode that's somewhere in the ethos.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that you were doing it, I was like, oh, cool. And then like when you kept doing it and like didn't stop doing it, I was like, oh shit. I was like, damn, Chaz is going in. Like he's gonna do it. You know what I mean? And so that was super exciting to see. So like props, man, because when I tried it at first, I thought I wanted to do it and I could stay consistent with it at the time, and it didn't happen for me. So
see, no, I don't mind it. I know. So this is going to air this Friday.
Is that what you said? Can you do this before Friday?
Yeah, because the way I usually do it is like, so with Deuce and Carly, I recorded theirs back to back essentially, and then I recorded Justice's the same day as Deuce's. So I had like 3 just lined up, you know, and I edited all of them and then like scheduled them to come out. So I took like a 2-week break. And then I realized that this week I'm like, oh, I don't have anybody. So I have to get back on my grind.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I'm sorry it was kind of last minute on my end, but
no, you're good, man. Like it was just funny because like I was just watching a movie and then like I have like a projector with the screen mirror on for the phone.
Yeah.
And so be watching something and I just see like a text pop down that's like, hey, can you be on my podcast before Friday or whatever? Oh, yeah, sure. Like, let's do it. Let's make something happen. I don't know.
Fuck yeah, dude.
But yeah, we're here. So
we are here. We are live. We're not, I mean, this isn't live. Did you know you could go live on Zoom? I had no idea you could go live on Zoom until I started doing other podcasts with Patrick because he does live off of Zoom. I
didn't find out about the backgrounds of Zoom until like a while. Like it took a while. My sister showed me and then I was like, whoa, what? And I was like, there's no green screen. How the fuck is this happening?
Yeah, there's an option where you can say I have a green screen. So if you have a green screen behind you, it's a lot more like sharp, like the
right
behind you. But then
so that it can just like analyze with enough points, I guess, of contrast and facial recognition to be like, cool, like we'll just do whatever the hell with the back.
Yeah,
you know, face.
But I'm curious because like I know like a lot of streamers like gamers and stuff will use a green screen behind theirs and then put it through OBS and then, you know, so you could see them in the corner. But with green screen, you have to have proper lighting. Like, I mean, if you're like filming green screen for like a short film or feature film or whatever, like there's like a certain lighting way you have to light it, you know? And I don't know if anybody, like, if any of the streamers actually light it properly, and if
Yeah.
technology's gotten that good, just at analyzing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know really too much as far as that goes, but I do know, like, it's funny because on the big films you see like the behind the scenes where the green is literally like not lit at all. It's just like chucked somewhere in the corner, because like they just have so many teams though of rotoscopers, and you know what I mean, like where they just go in and it doesn't really even matter if they get a clean key out of it. They're just like, they have so many people that just will go through, you know, frame by frame, blah blah blah, and clean it up. Where I feel like when you're making a movie at that breakneck pace, I'm sure at one point, you know, the grips are just like, fuck it, just toss it on the just toss it over some boxes and be like, yeah, it'll turn into a spaceship later. It's okay. You know, because they're like, trying to make the day.
Dude, can you imagine just like working that fast pace though?
Yeah.
Like if your only job was to rotoscope, like how enjoyable would that be?
It would not be enjoyable. Not for me.
Not me either.
Dude, I will be the first one to tell you that I know zero about like After Effects and like rotoscoping and like all that stuff. Like, it's so foreign to me. I have friends that are really good at it, but for me, it's never been something I've been super like interested in as far as like, I don't know. It's weird though, because like I enjoy like some of the superhero films for the idea of like watching it and being like, oh cool, like I like this because I know the characters from the comics and I like those, even though if I know that like 90% of it is CGI. But on the flip side, I really also like, I really do enjoy on the other side of the movies that have like zero CGI effects and it's all like practical effects, and just, or maybe there's not even anything that needs to be like practical effects. You know, it's just a good character story or whatever.
Yeah.
So
okay, how long have you been studying cinematography and doing it?
I don't know. So I went to Slick, did their program, and I don't remember when I graduated. Actually, I graduated the same. Well, I guess Deuce didn't graduate because he had math classes that he couldn't pass. But but I. Oh man, he'll watch this and be like, he'll just shake
that
his
motherfucker.
Head. No. But so I think I graduated in like 2015.
Yeah.
But I had started an internship with White Rabbit Productions while I was still in school. And I kind of just shadowed them / interned for them for like a year. Just going with them and helping set up things and tear down things and just learning a lot of stuff that I definitely didn't learn at Slick. And not because Slick was bad, but just because when you're doing it, it's a little different for sure. So then I think it was like after, like I had been studying it, but I hadn't really been studying it the way like I feel like I'm diving into it now. So I feel like only the past couple of years I've been like really studying it. But I've been like freelancing probably like 4 years now. So I don't know. The whole like cinematography thing is also weird too, because it's like, it's this weird thing where some people are like super loose with the term of it, and then other people are like super like anal about it. You know what I mean? About like, oh, you're just like a, you know, just because you can hold a camera doesn't mean you're a cinematographer, you know, or whatever. And I agree 100%. You know, and there's other people who like, oh, I bought a red, so like I'm a DP now, or whatever. And it's like, oh God. You know what I mean? And so so that's why for me, I don't know. I do battle back and forth because I have people in both camps who are like, well, I mean, you're doing it, you're lighting it, you're going through the whole process. So technically, yeah, you are like a quote unquote DP or whatever. But then on the other side, like a lot of people who have mentored me, like just totally just will talk shit on everyone who's like hasn't been doing it for like 30 plus years or whatever. Which I get that sentiment too. Like that makes sense too. Like if you're all part of this one big pool of people, you're gonna have a mixture of experiences and like proficiency levels. But I don't know, man. I just like to say I'm practicing it because I think at the end of the day, we're all always practicing, and no one ever like reaches the point where they're like, I have learned everything and I am it or whatever. Like I think that's dumb. So
yeah, no, that'd be depressing. Like if you ever reach that level of like, what more is there to learn? And you have to question that,
Yeah. I feel like if you ever have to do that with any topic, then you have failed, like as a practitioner of that thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like with anything, there's so much more you can learn, like all the time.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's weird. I feel like the more I dive into cinematography and the more I learn different things, whether it's like lighting or color theory or production design pieces, camera movement, whatever, blocking, like the less I know, like the less confident I am almost. It's like I learned this other thing. I'm like, oh wow, that's really mind blowing, and like trying to take it in, and I'm like, cool, okay, I think I'm starting to get a grasp on this. But then once you do that, you have like this weird thing in your head where you're like, oh, I fucking know nothing though. Like I really don't know anything though. You're like, because now that branches off into a million different things, right?
Right.
So yeah, man, that's why I just say it's like I practice it, and of course, like in the credits, like I'll show up there maybe as it, but and I'll perform like the duties of it on certain projects and things. But for me, it's just like whatever, regardless of what I do, I think I'm always just going to be saying that I practice it, So
I get that. I'm credited for a DP for one project, and that whole project I had no idea what I was doing. And it's that day that I knew that being a DP was not my forte. Just because I have a camera, like you said, does not mean I know exactly how to light things or anything like that.
Yeah, I think what's crazy is like I think some people think, oh, it's just lighting, or oh, it's just framing or composition or pretty images or this or that. And what I've realized over the past like couple years, because I used to also think like very linearly like that too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's not like just lighting. It's lighting, it's the color, it's the blocking, it's being able to shoot for an edit. You know what I mean? Like when you're shot listing, it's, subtle reasons for moving the camera or not moving the camera. And what I'm also realizing too is like I'm doing like more projects and like not even like bigger scale projects, but just like more like in-depth projects is like the level of like pre-production there really is. And I feel like that's probably like half the job of like cinematographer is like being able to be organized and transparent and like super communicative to the director and all the departments and crew and everything. But even like before the filming actually begins, like just being able to like analyze the script and really like see like, okay, like how does this feel? You know what I mean? What kind of ideas can you pull and references? And that's like a whole monster in itself. That's like, different from production.
Yeah. I kind of like to think of the cinematographer as one of those positions that you kind of have from the very beginning to the very end to see like all the way through the project. And I know sometimes cinematographers won't see like a cut or whatever. And I know sometimes on projects they won't even let them see the coloring process of it, which I think is kind of weird because
so
like
crazy. Dude,
yeah,
that is to me.
Yeah, because like as a cinematographer, like you have the coloring in mind, right? And so like to be able to make sure that everything's the way you want it as a cinematographer, as how you know intended for it to be,
Mm-hmm.
to not be in the room when they're coloring it or editing it or whatever, you know, like I think that's kind of weird.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's also weird because it's like as technology continues to progress. I mean, we're already in a place where I can shoot something at daylight, balanced, lighting, and then if in post I want to decide, what if I just went tungsten? Like I can do that with a click of a button, right? It's just like
Right.
boom. Oh, now we're like, now we're like 32K, and obviously it's one of those things where it's like, well, when you're in pre-production and you get all these references and you are talking with the director and you guys are really figuring out, what the look of this scene or this movie overall should look like, and then you stick to that plan. That's how you use that information to plan of how what you're gonna need for production. So then you get all the lights, get all whatever else you need, rigging, etc., gels to get together to do it in production. Then you execute it, and you're like, great. And then in post, like a colorist is like, oh, that looks a little weird. I don't know why it's like that. And you're just like, let me just whiten everything or whatever. Let me just like turn everything back to normal, balanced thing. And it's like, no, like it's supposed to be like ugly yellow for a reason, or you know what I mean, or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever the thing is according to what the story is. But yeah, I think it's weird if the colorist is not, um, you know, communicating at least a little bit between with the DP. Yeah, because I mean, I've started to dive into color grading a lot recently, and just because a lot of times I don't have money to just hire out a colorist for stuff, so I just do it myself. But I'll be in Resolve, and it's just so crazy how much latitude you have with color, exposure, like contrast, everything. And so to not have uh, that DP colorist relationship there at all seems, I don't know, it just seems really weird to me, like really crazy.
Well, and I think it's cool. So I mean, you kind of touched on it with you learning coloring,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that will help you understand more of cinematography, even like exactly how the whole process works, because it kind of goes hand in hand. And even if, like a director, I think a director should know how to write, or a writer should know how to direct. That way, like, because those two go hand in hand, and a lot of the times, because you're still telling the story, and even if the cinematographer want to touch on that too, like. So it's like all these positions go hand in hand. Like it doesn't hurt to learn, at
Mm-hmm.
least understand it. You don't have to know it, like right at the back of your head, but at least to understand the process and like the thinking kind of.
Yeah, it's like the foundation, you know what I mean? And I think um, going back to like all those positions is like, I think a director of anything should come from some kind of editing background. I
Yep.
think
Yep.
if a director can't edit, then how do they know how things are going to cut together? You know what I mean? In post. Also, same thing with like a DP and a colorist is like, if you don't know how you can push your footage and process it, um, then how are you supposed to know how you're lighting it or whatever? Or if you're going to you're going to be able to execute the same effect that you want, right? Because I feel like, back in the day when we were doing film, and I haven't shot any film, but just from other people's experiences is like they knew the process of that post processing of developing film super well. So they knew when they were shooting, like, oh, I know I'll be able to, dodge this, or I'll
Yeah.
be able to spot this, and kind of mess with it to a certain degree or not. Um, and I think digital is just different tools. So I think digital, it's the same thing. It's like instead of in a dark room, throwing up on the reel and then going through the different chemicals, it's like you have that all ability wise, in something like Resolve or, whatever. So I think, yeah, it's super important for you to at least know like how far you can push your footage. Where does it start to break apart? Where does it, where does it hold up best, and that way maybe you can save some extra time on set if you know that like okay, it's not as orange as I want it to be, but I do need the extra exposure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna like triple up on this gel. You know what I mean, on this light, because I know if I double up and then just, selective color it and resolve, I can bring out the amount of orange that I still want. But then on set, I know that I need the exposure though to bump up a little bit, and doing triple would like cut it too much.
Right.
Yeah. So I think things like that like are super valuable. They're like little things, but like I don't know, I feel like it helps.
Yeah, because even like when writing scripts and stuff, there's a philosophy that you can direct the director, where you come up with the shot in paper, right? But you don't explicitly say, because I mean, some people do, but the point of the script is just tell the story, right? So like call the shots is pretty much overly directing the director. But if you set up the scene and just subtly set up the shot, the director will think they came up with it. And
Oh yeah.
to know that mindset, will also help the cinematographer, because like if everybody like I don't know about you, but like when you read a script and you've envisioned something, right, and you have the meeting with the director and the writer, and then like you say, this is what I was kind of picturing. Like, has there ever been like an epiphany? Like, that's what we were thinking.
Oh, all the time, dude.
And so that's how like it's on the same page, and like that. I think that's how you're like on the right path, of bringing something to life.
It's kind of interesting because I feel like that's also like a good sign of like, if you as the DP are maybe a good fit for the project.
Yeah.
Is when you're looking at a script and you're visualizing, you're seeing certain things and certain colors and certain shots and maybe just certain vibes, of the project. And then when you talk to the writer or the director about it, and they're saying like some of the same things, then you're like, oh great, like this will be awesome. It gets exciting, right? Because you were able to like cross that bridge of being like, we're actually like thinking the same thing, and like it's a cool feeling for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it even happened. So like, I think I've told this story before, but like on Night of Adventure, when I was writing that, the very last shot, like I always heard like this like kind of violin pitch. Like there's always some sort of pitch to it, right? And then the way we shot it, I mean, it was pretty much exactly how I kind of pictured it on the page, right? But then like hearing the music come to it, and I never had that conversation with my dad who like composed it, but like there's that pitch at the very end, and I'm like, that fucking came through. Like, yeah, that's so weird, so exciting, and like, I don't know. I think making movies is cool.
No, yeah, me too, man. I feel like that's the reason why that happens is both like a reflectance of you as a writer being able to guide the reader through, but also the relationship between you and that other person, right? And so it's like if you know that person really well and you just have a good relationship with them in general, I think it's much easier to make that kind of connection happen of being like, oh, cool, like I totally see how you're thinking this.
Yeah.
How you're thinking this through. So yeah, it's been super cool that like I feel like I've had those kind of moments before with a couple different people. Mainly Deuce. I basically work with Deuce like all the time. And so at this point, we literally we always joke where he can just say, okay, just like, make the shot list, because oftentimes we'll be doing stuff and, we'll just be going back and forth and literally be the same thing that we're thinking. And so it's rarely even any words like talking. It's just like, hey, what do you think about that? And he's like, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. And then just jotting it down or whatever. But yeah, so like that's a super, super cool, like electricity there.
Well, and the fact you guys allowed me to be kind of like the pre-production side at those, and like or the script, like that was my first time doing it like that in depth. But I kind of stole that for my shoot for Night of Adventure. I'm like, okay, we have to have these meetings. Like it's a thing that has to happen. And whenever I'm thinking about, like, I had so much fun on that project that you guys brought me on to.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know, just seeing how you guys do stuff, and like everybody being on the same page, it was fun.
No, yeah, dude, like that project, you're talking about Loth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is because I know we've done a lot of projects at this point where you've been a part of it. But no, yeah, that project was really cool because like it kind of, for me, it had its own arc, like outside of itself. Like just in terms of like the circumstances of the project where, we wanted it to be this bigger thing. It didn't turn out to be this bigger thing. And at first it was this whole thing of being like, man, this really sucks. It's not going to be this thing that we originally were hoping it was going to be. But then at the same time, like looking back at it now, like obviously the experiences of like doing it was all super beneficial. Like I learned a million different things from doing that project. As I imagine, like with every project, I learned a few things new. But because that project was kind of big with a lot of moving parts, I learned like a shit ton. But what's interesting is now it's like before I looked at it like in a very negative light of being like, oh, it's like a failed project, it's failed, blah blah. But now that I look at it and I'll see like the most recent cut or whatever of it with music and etc. is I'll start to notice like, yeah, we didn't hit these marks necessarily, but then I'll look at it and be like, but we really did kind of nail like these certain areas or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's kind of nice to be able to find, I guess, the little parts of the positivity of things that worked really well, to kind of like wrap that whole project up. But yeah, I'm still excited for it to come out. I know Deuce is just working on music with the composer and it's pretty much done.
I think you told me that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so it'll be cool, dude. Like, I'm glad also that you were able to use like pre-production stuff, for your film too, man.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching that and I was like, oh, this is actually like pretty well put together. Like as far as like I could tell that you had planned things out.
Yeah. I remember I met Chris, who's the DP for that project, and like we met him with the producer Landon, and we just went over storyboards and like what he was seeing, and I mean it was just like 2-hour meetings is all, but then we'd have a table read, and get everybody's feedback on like if they had any questions about the characters, and then I have fun with it, and I took a lot of that from your guys's how you guys did stuff, because I feel like your guys' set was like the more professional ones I've been on, and I mean, and I mean professional in the sense it was. Well, I mean professional in the sense that like you actually use different departments, like it wasn't like a one-man show kind of thing. I mean, in some areas it was, but a lot of areas though, I mean, like you guys definitely knew what you were doing in that sense, So.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think, obviously, like if you don't have the manpower to have just, a lighting department and just a sound department, whatever, these different departments, like you just don't have the manpower of that. But I do think I like to still structure things in a way like that, at least of being like, hey, this is like, even though you're not just going to be a grip or an electric, like this is your main role.
Yeah.
And then your secondary, everyone's kind of, as a secondary role, everyone is kind of like a PA or a swing or something, you know what I mean? In a way, but I like to at least like emphasize that like, hey, mainly I just want you to have to worry about like cabling and lights and things like that, or hey, I just want you to worry about like production design and costumes and stuff like that. And I think what that does for me is it just helps me be more organized and also put departments to people. I think sometimes when you get a crew of not a big size but a bigger size than just a couple people, it can get a little messy on like who you're supposed to be calling for who, for what, versus if I know that like, oh, I know like Chaz and Dario are like you know, shaping lights and stuff than anytime I need like a flag to run in or some black wrap or whatever. Like I know who I'm calling for, and I'm not just yelling into the ethos, being like, someone just get me like a flag, or someone just get me a script. You know what I mean? It's like there's a little bit more directionality to it, so not everyone feels like, oh, should I drop everything I'm doing and go do X task? It's like, no, it's like if you're working on this other thing, like let the department or the people who, you know, emphasize towards that, even on a smaller crew, let them handle that.
Yeah.
You know, less chaotic, I feel like.
Oh yeah, no, totally. And like we were saying is that like sometimes, you know, you have to be the PA like as a second gig or whatever. But like for me, like I know that I've been like on a fun and good set is like, and I don't even realize that like it blended like that because I was having so much fun trying to like help out in any way I could, you know?
Yeah.
And so I definitely felt that on that project. And like, dude, the late nights, like the all-nighters, like they were worth it. I mean, like I love all-nighters for shooting films. Like, I mean, the next day you're so fucking dead and tired, but like just to look back on footage and like the cut, like the edit or whatever, you're just like, oh yeah, this is worth it. You know, like I don't know. And there's like some stuff that we pulled off there. That you pulled off, like a wonder that you guys were trying to do, you know, and like it took plenty of takes, but like once we all saw that, and like everybody's crowding around, like, did we get it? You know, like it's fun.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. And I think that project, like, I'm glad it was as ambitious as it was, as far as from everything from shots to number of locations to I mean, it didn't have a large cast, but to at least number of crew as well, because we had like what total, I think there was 16, 18 people were part of the project, like in total as far as people.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was nice to have some of those like ambitious shots that even if they didn't work out, but attempting them was great because now when I look back at certain like shots, like when we tried to do that wraparound shot in the church, fucking took forever, and we didn't even end up really getting it because I was like, we just got to move on and do this other shit. Like looking back now on how I would approach that shot now, so different, like so different, dude. You know what I mean? Like, and to even go along with like, you know, the oneer near the end, you know, with the hallway and stuff, and Mary like stepping in, and also would have approached it way different now, you know. But I don't think my mind would have gone down a different route if I hadn't tried what I initially thought would have worked or not.
Yeah.
You know, like the initial approach. If I didn't try that initial approach of like a million handoffs in the fucking church, like I wouldn't have dared to like think of like, oh, well, that obviously didn't work, so like, oh, let me go down this route instead and see like, oh, if we just did it this way, like it probably would have made in the cut. You know?
I very much remember that shot, the church.
Oh man,
but that church was cool. Like, I mean, that guy, I mean, I think the fact he shot the church of all things was really cool too.
That was a really cool location, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, and what's funny is like the whole time I was like, man, I really wish we could, because I really wanted to haze up the church inside there. But I also was like, I don't like, because I think I talked to Deuce about it, and he was like, I don't think we should do that. And he had a good point though, because it was like, you know, the smoke machine could go off, and like all these things could go, you know, happen. So we didn't end up doing that. But initially I was like, man, it would look so cool to like really get the shafts of light from the 800s, like, you know, in the church there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, what's funny is like from the experience of that, to the experience of doing, Cooked, which is not finished yet, but it is almost, I kind of purposely designed most of the shots, if not like 99% of them, to be like static, kind of not moving shots.
Yeah.
And I mean, but the story works out that way as well. But it also worked out that I thought more of like, okay, this is really small scale. It's small spaces. I'm not going to be able to like have the time and whatever to design these super crazy whatever shots if it doesn't need to happen. And so, but Lilith helped me kind of tone down that of being like, oh, let's just because one time I was like, dude, let's just wet the entire street. You know, when we go to Mimi's like house or whatever, like wet the entire street, and we'll have this crane shot coming down from like a row of like street lamps and shit. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, I mean, it would look great and it would sound. I mean, it sounds like a really cool shot, right? But also, it's like there's a lot of time, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of
the things you do for a shot. What was I going to say about that though? Shit. Oh, Cooked. Because you mentioned Cooked. That's the one I helped you out with, right? Earlier.
Yeah.
This year before
like,
COVID.
Before COVID, we shot that, and then I wanted to do some pickups, but COVID hit, so I have to wait to do some pickups.
But from what you sent, screenshot wise, that's fucking badass. How sexy those shots look.
I'm glad you like them because, I mean, they look how I wanted them to look, which is good. And I think more than anything, like that's always the goal of like getting it close to what you see in your head. But yeah, man, like, I mean, also on that project, there was a few mistakes too. That I'm like, damn.
I mean, that was kind of like on the fly project, you know, like it was just make something for the sake of making something because there was like a dead period. Dude. Okay, yeah. Let me just get into this real quick.
Okay. The only reason, and you probably know this, but I'll just tell you, the only reason that film even came to fruition at all is because no one had any projects like written or at a stage where they could start pre-production and actually, start. And so I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer at all. Like, I know I can like read a script and say if I like it or not and give my opinion and whatever, but I'm not a writer like by trade at all. So and for those who don't know, I wrote Cooked. It's like a short film. But the only reason I wrote it is because I was tired of like everyone in my circle having not things ready to shoot or to even do pre-production on. That was like getting so antsy of being like, oh man, I just really want to like dive into something. And, Deuce had already moved to California at that point. And so it was like, I wasn't going to be doing anything with him, for at least the foreseeable future. And I was going through a really busy time freelancing. So I was doing a ton of projects, but I wasn't doing like projects like narrative pieces that I really wanted to do. And so Cook came about because like just no one was ready with like scripts. And so I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to like come up with something, write something out, whatever. I'll make it super simple, no dialogue, and then like I'll get some people together and we'll go shoot it and stuff. But yeah, because dude, I don't know, man. Like, and I know, and I get the writing is a process, obviously. Like, you can't just be like, I can't just go to you and be like, Chaz, how come we don't have that script ready? Like, let's go, let's shoot this thing. You know what I mean? Like, if it's not there, it's not there, right?
Yeah.
But
that's what Landon does. He's like, we have to make this project. I'm like, dude, I'm working on it.
You're like, hold on, dude. I have the.
I have the. Was it ready to shoot? I'm like, this is the first draft, and prefer if we shot like 3 drafts.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So yeah, that was the only reason that project even came about, is just because I was really impatient, I guess, of waiting for people to write stuff. But I really only have like a small pool of writer director friends as of right now. I mean, I'd of course like to work with more, but like I don't think a lot of people also at least in the indie film community here, like really know who I am at all.
Yeah.
Like I feel like some of the older guys who like are around who don't post on like the Facebook pages like know me more, but I don't know.
See,
I also
that's cool though. To have like the older people know who you are. I think that's kind of cool because like those people don't post at all about
yeah,
stuff, but like they know how it still works. Meaning
yeah.
you don't have to have social media to like connect.
Dude, I haven't logged into my Facebook in 2 weeks now.
I'm proud of you.
What's funny, well, I mean, okay, so I've logged in before, but I haven't checked any notifications. And I think I'm up to like 60 notifications or something. Like, it's stupid. It's stupid. And I guarantee you, if I went through them, like, maybe one of them would be relevant to anything that might change my life as far as like day to day anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just like, I know that I can easily just get wrapped up in like a social media thing like that. So I was like, well, if I don't have it on my phone and I log myself out on my desktop, I can give myself more time to not worry about it, you know?
No,
So,
that's approach that I've been trying to do. Log out my phone and just use my computer only. So if I'm not on my computer, I can't get on it, you know?
yeah,
But that's harder. It's oddly easier said than done. I'm
yeah.
not gonna lie, it's weird.
Well, what ends up happening is during COVID, I'm like, because originally for a while I did have that same system of like, oh, it's not on my phone, so I have to go to a computer to check Facebook or whatever. And that was working for a while, but then once COVID hit and I locked myself down, well, now I'm in my house all the time, like, and my computer's right there, and I'm either editing something or I'm, you know, going on YouTube or whatever else. And it's just like, well, now I'm on my computer all the time, so I can just access Facebook easy. And then so that became a problem, and I was like, okay, looks like I just have to like not have it on my computer either.
Are you like Deuce where you don't have Twitter or Instagram?
I have Instagram. I don't have Twitter. What's funny is I kind of want to get Twitter because I feel like that's where like real time like news stuff kind of happens on Twitter.
Like,
Which
just so you know, it gets dark real quick.
oh, I'm sure. Sure. But also, I don't want to get Twitter because like Kaylee already has Twitter, and she kind of just fills me in on whatever she follows on Twitter and stuff. But dude, Instagram's weird, dude. I don't know. It's one of those things too where I'm also considering just like not being a part of it really. But it's one of those things that like, I don't know. It's like one of those things career wise where like if you're like a cinematographer or DP, like you should probably have an Instagram out of all of the social medias that you could have. But at the same time, I've heard also that makes no difference. But also I've heard people where they've been like, oh, I've lost jobs to people who have more followers, and that's the only reason. Or whatever. And I think that's dumb.
It is dumb.
Obviously, I think that's dumb. And so, I don't know, man. Social media is tough. It's also tough because it's like the moment you want to like use it as like a business tool to like gain more followers or more engagement or whatever, like the moment it becomes not fun and it becomes like a extra task to do on top of whatever else you're doing. And I don't know, it's kind of lame in that way.
No, I agree. I actually very much relate because when I have to post stuff for this podcast, I'm like, oh, I have to do an extra step.
You're like, oh man, I have to tell people that like this podcast is coming up.
That's
You're
pretty
like,
much.
oh.
And then I have to create extra content for it by like cutting videos now and being like, oh, this is 1 minute. Instagram's 1 minute. Hella, oh, I got to make a new logo and say it's on, what do you call, Spotify and iTunes and Google Play and YouTube and all this stuff. And I'm like, who's going to see it though? Probably nobody.
Right, you do all this work and then you're like, awesome, got 10 people who listen to this. That's good.
Yeah. It's kind of like that. Then like after you post it, you're like, I deserve a beer now. That was a lot of work.
You're like, I need to pop myself a cold one now. That was tough.
But no, I enjoy it too. It's a different workflow for sure than what I'm used to. But okay,
Sure,
what's
sorry.
no, what was that?
I was just gonna say, I'm sure it helps you with like, talking to new people and kind of just getting more like perspective. That probably helps your writing process, I would imagine.
Oh, for sure.
Characters and stuff, and
But that's kind of why I started it. Was because I was in such a creative flunk for like almost a year. So I needed something creative to do, but then like my photo stuff was fun. It's still fun. Like I still love taking photos, but with COVID, it's kind of hard to take photos,
Yeah.
And even with that, I feel like no matter what, I think there's always some sort of competition, be it whatever craft you're going into, right? I mean, you could be writing, you could be filming, you could be taking photos, you could be cooking. I mean, fucking whatever. There's always going to be some sort of competition. And like for me, I don't necessarily feel like I want to be a part of that. I just want to post what I want to post, and be like, I did a cool thing, I think. Like, but so for the podcast, I realize I love getting to know people and talking to people, like that's just, I'm a social butterfly in that sense. But it's also because as artists, and like, I'm using that as a very broad term because like I don't want this just to be specified with film, because like I know so many film people. There's a lot of film podcasts out there though, but I think the general term for artists is that like we all experience the highs and lows of trying to pursue whatever it is we're trying to get into, and that's what makes us different from other people. You know what I mean? Like, so I kind of like want to gain more perspective in that sense and just make more connections and, I like
for sure. Yeah. And I feel like, to go along with that idea of like the highs and lows and stuff, I think it is important to be able to realize that like, I don't know, like that everyone, you can relate to people on something. And with artists, I feel like everyone can relate to, things like self-doubt or really big highs of what that feels like, and also really big lows of like creative funks and
because I feel like the creative flunks and like the lows, hence underexposed, right? I mean, so it's over and under artists exposed because like there's the overexposed parts that everybody understands with art, like, oh, if you make something so creative and wonderful, you're gonna get recognition. It's gonna be such a social influence, fucking whatever. And that's all they focus on. But then like a lot of the under stuff is where we actually connect with just being human, like the creative flunks and like the low ends of having to do with life. And I mean that in like the least depressing way, but how we apply the positives to the lows, or how we apply the lows to the positives, to really bring the craft like a full circle in a sense. So, yeah. The spotlight is now on them. That's the catchphrase. But I don't know. I think it's a fun idea. Okay, let's move on. What is a movie that actually inspired you to pursue cinematography? Like, do you have a favorite movie that you resort to?
I mean, there's a lot of really cool films. One thing that I noticed, which is kind of funny. Okay, well, first, let me back up. So one thing that whenever anyone like asks or inquires about that kind of thing, like a favorite movie or whatever, I usually tend to say like Old Boy, the Korean, the original, Old Boy, and just because like I think it has a really interesting story, is a really crazy, like it's really visually like kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're listening to this, you have no idea what that means, but it's just like very visually like striking and kind of bold. But on top of that, I think, I don't know, it's just a really good amalgamation of, atmosphere building and character building and just story piece with a fun twist. guess not fun, but an
Yeah,
interesting twist.
Mike, that's a
Like an
that's a fun
interesting,
way to put it.
yeah, a fun twist. Yeah, but so that one I really think is really cool, and I always like to go back and watch like pieces from that or screenshots. But what I was gonna say is about what I've noticed from as far as inspiration cinematography wise is, I'll be on this site called Shot Deck, and it's a really cool, basically like a reference photo site where you can like search for different like key terms of like either lighting terms, camera terms, whatever, and it'll bring up a bunch of movies from or screenshot from different movies that like are within those filters.
Ooh.
And yeah, if you haven't checked it out, you should check it out. It was co-developed by the guy who did the cinematographer of Joker, Lawrence Sher,
Okay.
and he developed it with someone else. But yeah, it's really cool, and it's just like a library of different screenshots from films, and you can search it. But what's funny is I noticed is like a lot of the cinematography. I don't know why, but I liked a lot of the cinematography from like films that were made in 2011 for some reason. Like a lot of the ones that I had saved were like from that from that release day or from
Like
that release year.
like what?
Like let me see, they had like Drive was from 2011. It's something I can think of right now, but like let's see.
Dude,
I don't have my report now.
that's a striking movie too. Like it's
Yeah, no,
very
it's really,
stylized with its craft.
yeah, and I mean I like that kind of style
Yeah.
personally because I mean, well, I think what I'm learning is everything really does come back to the story of like what it is, but I think what's fun about the stylized stuff is like I still view movies as like movies. Like I don't want movies to become so real to the point where it's like why am I watching like a movie? Why can't I just experience that event, right? Of things. And I think in certain instances that is the way to go. But I grew up on movies that were like you knew wasn't really going to happen. Like, for example, I used to watch Small Soldiers as a kid, like a ton. You know what I mean? And it's like about toy soldiers who like
To kill
get
people.
get like implanted with like nuclear warheads, like whatever's, and they become like a little army of toys, which is like super unrealistic and not going to happen or whatever.
Gorgons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
And
Arthur,
so,
Gorgon.
yeah, I'm Archer,
Archer, that's it. Yeah.
emissary of the Gorgonites. Uh, but uh, but yeah, you know what I mean. So like, I still like to think of movies as having being able to say that it's a movie. Like it's clearly a movie. You know what I mean? So while a look can be realistic, I do like elements that are a little bit more bold color wise, a little more bold in their contrast and shadows and things like that. So not that Small Soldiers is like that because it's not like that at all.
No, it's not.
But I was using that more of an example of like the kind of a film that can come out of someone's mind. Um, so yeah, so I feel like Old Boy is like that a lot, but Drive is also very much like that. So yeah, just different things like that. I think I'm drawn to. Um, but at the same time, I heavily fucks with like Locke with Tom Hardy. You know what I mean? Where it's super realistic in the sense that you're just in this car as he's having phone calls driving in his car. You know what I mean? Have you ever seen that movie?
I have not seen that movie. It's on my watch list. I think it's still on Netflix, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
I saw it a couple years ago, but like a film like that, for example, right? Like I
Okay.
like that movie. I enjoyed it. It was one location in a car, and the lighting wasn't like super stylized or anything. It was very like just what you would imagine driving at night in a car would be like. Um, but it was an interesting like little plot line that they strung along. So Yeah, I don't know. Does that answer your question? I feel like I went way off from
No,
whatever we were.
no, that totally answers my question. A film that comes to mind for me when it comes to stylized is Mandy. I don't know if you've seen
Oh,
Mandy.
yeah, but I've seen. Did It's funny as I saw Mandy because Deuce was like, "Hey, you need to see Mandy."
Did he? I don't remember. Did Deuce like it? I don't remember.
He did. He did not like it.
It's what-
He did not. I can tell you. I can tell you with the utmost confidence. If he watches or listens to this, just know that I have your back, Deuce. He did
you don't
not
like it
like it.
either?
Did not like it. I mean, there were parts that I liked. I think. I think the biggest like plus I can give it is like the boldness of the way it looks. But to me, it also kind of feels like a. I'm also one of those people who like if we go a little bit too into the artsy fartsy, I get a little bit like, oh, okay, like
I
come
get
on,
it. Yeah,
be
yeah.
too pretentious. Like you're not, you know. I don't know. That's also though how I felt about like Midsummer, for example. Like I know this is a super unpopular opinion. I've ever seen it with like if you liked it and you enjoyed it and you think it was some next level shit, like cool. Like I'm honestly like happy for you if that's how you felt. Now, for me personally, um, it it wasn't like as smart as I feel like people are giving it credit to. I was saying like, look how many references and how you like this foreshadows that, and like you saw the bear here, and like you knew that the bear was gonna, you know what I mean, and then became part of the bear, and you're like, oh my god, you know, and like to me, I'm like, that wasn't really like a like hard to figure out. Like I'm like they held on X shot for like 5 seconds. Like if you can't realize that that shot is important, you know, being held for 5 seconds, like then I don't know, but it's like that, and then with the whole like the glass of period whatever drink, you know what I mean, where you're like clearly it's darker than all the others, like obvious, you know what I mean? I don't know, and like I said, it's not that I didn't enjoy it when I was watching it, like it was cool, but it's definitely not something that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go watch that again. As an example. Um, but yeah, but Mandy though did make a lot of very visual, striking choices.
You
I
said
enjoyed.
did.
I enjoyed the chainsaw fight. I really enjoyed the chainsaw fight.
I just love how batshit crazy that what the whole third act was just like, where did this come from?
Oh yeah, it's completely like they wrote it and then they had like a toddler come in for the third act and was just like, hey, scribble where you think we should like do all this other crazy stuff, and they're like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
yeah,
like that's where that kind of became very ultra violent, but like very ultra artsy fartsy.
yeah, it just became so like I don't know. I feel like it's that phase of like I think probably everyone goes through this phase. Um, but the phase of being like where you start to etch at whatever skill that you're learning or whatever, you know, art piece that you're learning about, and you start to see like you start to feel like you're getting somewhere as far as like the depth of whatever it is you're doing,
Yeah.
and then you go through this weird experimental phase of like, okay, now I'm gonna like, you know, break all the rules, and I'm gonna like, you know, be so like I don't know, like no one's ever going to have done this before, or like you know what I mean, kind of like attitude, and it becomes like to me it just feels kind of arrogant, I guess. I don't know.
That's I mean, fair. That's a fair statement.
But you know, for some people, like I mean, it's not that I don't think that those kind of movies should exist. I think it's all part of the artistic journey, right?
Right.
I think it's part of that person's like growth and evolution of stuff, you know, and so I'm all for it. But just for me, it's not something that like I would like jump into to rewatch because I thought it was so fucking genius, or you know, whatever.
Yeah. That movie's trippy. That's all I can say about it.
Dude, the film that I watched recently that I thought was pretty cool though, and I'm not really into sci-fi, but I listened to this other podcast. uh, which now I can't remember. Oh, it's called In Love with the Process. It's like a filmmaking podcast. But
Is
they had
that
this guy.
is that
Huh?
the guy who was on uh Film Riot? Like he guessed
Yeah,
he
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's how I found out about it. Is
Okay.
we're watching video, looked at his podcast, and yeah, so started listening from there. But they had an episode recently with don't remember his name, but he was this Australian director, and he owns like a little small like commercial production company in Australia. But he made his very first feature film, like narrative feature film, and it got into Sundance and then got bought by Netflix, and so it's on Netflix right now. And it's called I Am Mother,
Okay.
and it's all like it's about like this robot mom who raises a child after humanity has gone extinct, and they live in this like underground bunker, and I don't know. It's a pretty cool film. They didn't have like they only had like a couple $1 million budget for it, but it doesn't really look that cheap though. Like because the mom character is the robot obviously, but it's not CGI. It's like they built this robot for this person to like control inside of it, and it's a fun film, dude. It's a fun film. So
It's on my watch list actually.
is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, you should watch it. You should watch it. It's cool.
I have a lot of films on my watch list. Like I just watched last night I watched two movies. I watched The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino.
I've never even heard of that.
Dude, I'm just gonna say the third act. That's one hell of a third act. Like I mean, like if you want like a 1997 lawyer film that has like a Rosemary's Baby twist to it, like it's a pretty. I mean, I actually did not mind the film at all. I thought it was actually really fun for what it was. But I was on a lawyer kick, and I watched Michael Clayton with George Clooney, which is totally different in all areas. Um, and that score for that movie is actually really cool. I think it was like James Newton Howard or something who made that score. But yeah, I've been meaning just to watch. So I heard Netflix is going to release like a shuffle thing where you could like shuffle a movie and they'll randomly play.
That would be very cool.
Yeah, and I'm tempted to do that, but I'm also like their choices haven't been great. Like we recommend you watch this, and I'm like, no, like what in your algorithm is triggering this? Like what am I doing wrong? But because I've just been because like being in quarantine, right? I mean, like all this time to watch movies. And I think to watch movies is one way to actually learn because, like, if you analyze it, like, you could take away a lot from it, you know? And I don't know. I've been curious just to, like, whatever movie play on it and just expand more that way, you know? Same thing with, like, HBO or fucking whatever.
Oh, just dive into it head first, right?
Yeah. I mean, you're not at a loss for anything. Like, you know, where are you going to go? Nowhere because you're stuck inside.
I mean, the worst case scenario is you lose some time and you say that, oh, that wasn't worth it. But luckily you can like stop it or whatever. You're like, this isn't going to go the way that I thought it was.
And like I usually give movies like, you know, like maybe a half hour to give or take because like I know like writing wise, like I mean the half hour is pretty much like the end of the first act. So like give or take, I mean the first act can be kind of like a rocky build, but sometimes can have like a badass ending. But
yeah, I mean I watch movies even if they're bad pretty much all the way through. Like I may not actively be watching them at the halfway mark if they're still like really bad. Well, if they're bad enough to not be funny bad, but just bad as in it's just not entertaining bad. Because if they're like so bad that they're like funny bad, then it's like fun to watch it. But ones that are just like bad, I'll watch until like the halfway mark, and then I'll like be doing something else while it's still happening.
Do you have Hulu?
I do have Hulu.
You should watch Palm Springs.
I've heard of it.
It's funny. It's a cute sci-fi rom-com.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check that. Sounds cool.
Yeah, it's pretty clever. It's fun. It's a fun movie.
No, yeah, I'll definitely check it out. It's funny because I'm not, like I said, I'm not really into sci-fi, but I recently just finished the Clone Wars animated whatever thing
And
on
Star
Disney.
Wars.
Yeah. Star Wars, yeah. Which I mean, not to say that I'm not a fan of Star Wars because I am in the sense of like I've played the games and I've watched the films or whatever, but I don't know any of like the legends lore or any of
Yeah.
that stuff, but extended universe, whatever. But yeah, like watching that all the way through from season 1 to the season 7 or whatever, that was cool. That was it's a good journey.
That's one I couldn't actually get into. Like I've tried, and I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but I'm just like I
Oh,
don't.
really?
Yeah, for me personally, I'm more about the movies
Mm.
rather than like the side stories. I mean, The Mandalorian's fine. I don't think. I mean,
Did you not like the Mandalorian?
I thought it. I liked it, but I thought it definitely faltered and like came to like almost a halt midway through it.
Mm.
And I was questioning like, okay, like what exactly are they trying to do? But
Yeah.
I think they bounced back from that, and I think it ended on a strong note. But for me personally, I think the side stories of these characters that we already know or like worlds that we've already explored, I'm like, why we
No,
could get like an epic action packed like 2.5 hour movie with like fucking unlimited budget, you know?
what's funny about like the Mandalorian is now that you mention it, I've seen the first season or whatever, the only season that it has.
Right.
But I remember enjoying it and watching it. But literally, if you had me recap it right now, like story wise, plot wise, I actually couldn't tell you other than just like he came across like this baby Yoda thing and then had to protect it from the Empire or whatever. And honestly, dude, like I'm literally racking my brain right now, and I don't know what else. I don't know what else happens.
Because to me, it felt like a 1950s like Lone Ranger kind of like TV show you'd watch early in the morning, where like they went on an adventure and then like the next episode would not even recollect the last episode, you know? And it just felt like different adventures of this one guy who found Baby Yoda. But like even that was very, and that was very slow to get to the point of like, okay, well, how Baby Yoda's cute. Don't get me wrong. And there's like a lot of adorable moments between the two. And I mean, I guess the Mandalorian himself had some depth to him as the show went on, which is kind of hard to do with like somebody who just wears a helmet the whole time.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm like,
yeah, I feel like the episodes probably didn't like impact each other enough.
Yeah.
As far as like the previous episode to the next episode, like events and things that happened in the previous episode didn't necessarily like impact the entire rest of everything.
Yeah. There's like no consequences at all, is what it felt like.
Right.
But
right. Stakes weren't really there. You knew they weren't gonna like kill the baby. Like you knew, like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally. And like when the guy fucking punches the baby or whatever, I was like, what? What did you just do?
Right? Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, no, yeah, that is true. Yeah. Because I remember, it's weird because I remember watching it and enjoying it, but I don't remember it. Like I don't remember it story-wise.
Yeah, that's
weird.
The Mandalorian for you. I remember Bill Burr being in it, and like I love Bill Burr, like he's my favorite comedian.
Oh yeah, he is in it, isn't he?
Yeah, and what's funny is that he used to talk so much shit on Star Wars and Star Wars fans, and yet he was an appearance in an episode as a bounty hunter.
He's like, fuck it, that sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm like, are we going to be able to hear a Bill Burr rant within this or not? Dude, that's another thing. So like King of Staten Island, the latest Pete Davidson movie with Judd Apatow. I thought Bill Burr did such a wonderful job in that.
I haven't seen that yet, but I want to see it though.
You should watch. I watched it twice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because with premieres on VOD, like they give you like 48-hour rental or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I watched it one night and I'm like, I love this. And like I reflected back on it like the day after and like went back right into it after I got off work.
Wow.
And rewatched it. Yeah.
Maybe I'll watch it tonight.
You should watch it. It's very raw and genuine.
Okay. That sounds fun. Yeah, no, like it looked fun. Like it looked like almost like a, if you had a family film, but then like added like super bad and like Tropic Thunder vibes into it, but like still had like a wholesome message. Like that's kind of what the trailer felt like to me.
That's
So
pretty much what it is.
yeah, so I'll definitely check it out for sure.
Yeah. But okay, let's get back on the topic real quick.
Yeah.
So what are like some of the best highs? Because we were talking about highs and lows earlier. Like, what are some of the best highs you've actually experienced doing cinematography or film in general?
Um, Best highs. What's funny is I read this outline. I did, I promise. But the best highs. Honestly, I think it's anytime like I'm knee deep into like a project that I care about.
Mm-hmm.
Is like you'll like, I don't know if this happens for you, but I'll have a moment where I'll stop and realize like just how cool like it is that we're all collectively doing this thing to go towards this finished product that we all want to see happen. So I think that happens quite a bit as far as like a high. I don't know if it's the highest of highs. I can't really think of like the highest of highs, other than maybe like seeing a project finish, like, and it's not complete shit. I don't know. Like that's a good high, like of being like, cool, I'm glad those 14 hours were worth something, like kind of a thing.
That's always a scary thing. Is like when you're making the script can be good and like the process of making it can be fun. Like you ultimately don't know
Really, dude,
how it's gonna become.
it's weird because it's like no matter how much you plan and how much you like do pre-production and go over drafts and stuff of script, it's like it's never it's never guaranteed that like, oh, this is going to be really good. It's always like this has the potential to be really good. And
Yep.
then it's always kind of a gamble. Like you can execute it visually, you can execute it like through the sound and the acting and performances and things. And but I think what's tough is there's just so many um, pieces to the process that have drastic impacts on the entire project as a whole. Like you can have like, if you can be shot well, it can sound great, the performance can be awesome, but then if the editor like just fucking throws away half of the takes, you know what I mean, and like cuts together something super shitty, like it can be super shitty really quickly, even if you have all of those other things, right, that are like really good. Or or vice versa, if like you have the editing super on point, the performances are great, blah blah, but then like the sound is just so unbearable that like it doesn't matter because now it's shitty because now you just don't have good enough sound, you know what I mean, to like to qualify it as being good in the sense of like you can watch it without being distracted,
Yeah.
by the sound. Um, yeah, man. Or like technical things of like everything can be great, but then if it's out of focus, you're fucked. Like I don't know. There's just so many elements to it. So yeah, I agree. It's like pretty much like a gamble. Like but I will say that I think it always does start in the writing process. I think a good movie always starts with good writing, like a good script.
Is that what you look for when you read a script? Like, do you look for certain elements before agreeing to do a project, or?
Yeah, when I read a script, for me, how I kind of base initially, if if I want to reread the script and dive into it more, is if I read it the first time, just reading it for enjoyment, and I can picture what's on the page, like in a film setting, like in a movie setting. Because to me, that tells me like if I can do that, then that means okay, cool. At least on the very least base level, like it's put together enough and it's good enough to where I can put a picture in my mind of this story happening.
Yeah.
And then if it like passes that for me, then I'll go back and read it and then it'll be much more of like a um, more precise as far as like analyzing like the characters, you know what I mean, where what the motivations are, where do they come from, and how do they change or not change, and just the whole like, you know, storytelling structure of a script. Like that comes in like secondly, right? But first, like I won't even get to that point if I read a script and I can't picture it. You know what I mean? Because that might even tell me it's not the script that's bad. It's just the fact that if I can't picture it, then I'm probably not the person to shoot it.
The guy, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I would never want to read a script, not be able to picture it like at all, and then come to the director and be like, yeah, like I'm the guy, like let's work together. It's like, if I can't, you know what I mean? If I can't picture it, how do I expect that I'm going to be able to even, you know, be able to build that relationship enough to be able to shoot it,
Yeah,
have it serve the story.
Yeah,
that,
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
What are like the biggest lows you felt then?
Like,
have you had like a complete meltdown on a set before, where you're like, I can't do it, or like somebody else was like, I can't do it, and you're like, well, fuck.
No, I haven't really had any like those kind of necessary things, but I think from a creative standpoint, I mean, I think this happens with everyone, is I feel like sometimes I get so wrapped up in work, like of just like paying the bills kind of work. So like things that aren't like the kind of filmmaking that I want to be doing. You know, I get so busy with it that I'll be like, man, like it sucks that I'm technically doing what I want in the sense of like the field of doing cameras and things like that. But it's also like depressing because you're not actually doing like what you really want to do or whatever. And it feels like, and it kind of feels like you're wasting time, but not, because you know you're not wasting time, because you know if you weren't doing that, you'd have to work another job anyways and pay the bills. But no, sometimes that can be like kind of frustrating. That and yeah, and then sometimes you just like doubt yourself in the sense of like, do I like I said, like everything I learn, it's like I learn and then know nothing really. And so, but I'm also the type of person that's like, okay, if you're going to learn this thing, you have to just dive into it and start doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes like struggle with like the cinematography, like identity issues kind of a thing, and being like, I don't know if I'm actually like DP or anything like that. It's more of just like, yeah, I'm going through this thing, I'm doing all the duties of it. But sometimes like, oh, I'm not really worthy of it because I'm not shooting. You know, I'm not shooting the next fucking whatever big movie that I want to shoot or whatever.
Is that what you want to do then? Is just shoot movies in general, like just cinematic stuff?
Yeah. Well, what's funny? So I want to shoot narrative pieces. I want to shoot narrative things. They can be shorts. I enjoy shorts too. I've never shot a feature, so I think that'd be fun. Lilith was the closest thing to that, probably. So like, of course, yeah, I want to shoot narrative feature films, like I think most people do. I've been in, what's funny is I've been finding more success with like documentaries.
Okay.
Lately, as far as like getting recognition or going somewhere with them. And so I've kind of like fell a little bit more in love with like the documentary filmmaking process. So either of those, honestly, like if I just went into documentaries for the next 5 years, I wouldn't be mad.
See, and cool. Documentaries is something that I've thought about doing, like kind of like experimenting with, in a sense. just because it is a different form of storytelling.
Oh yeah,
But there's more of like a leeway with it. Like you could get away with more
yeah. Well,
faults and stuff.
it's a completely different process of what I
Yeah.
realized is it's kind of like shoot everything that you think you're going to need. You know what I mean? Ask all the questions that you think are going to garner good answers and good like content. But then when you get into the edit, it's you're just more like puzzle piecing things together. You're not following like this script that says like, oh cool, now Jack's talking, so we cut to Jack like talking or whatever. And so I think the fun of documentary is it's like fun shooting interviews and hearing stories and doing that stuff. But I think a lot of the fun comes into the edit of just really like honing in and figuring out what is all this stuff that I captured telling me like, story wise. Like what does it mean? Versus in narrative world, it's very much like you wrote this script, you planned all this thing, and you're now going to go execute it, and then you're just going to lay it on the timeline and go boom, 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 shot, 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 shot. You know what I mean? And it's a pretty like solid vision most of the time, like from the start to the finish of a narrative piece. Whereas a documentary, I feel like it's so much more spontaneous, and at any moment the story could completely change turn.
Yeah, there's actually a documentary on Netflix. What's it called? I don't remember how to pronounce it. But,
You're like, I'll leave it in the show notes.
I think it's hold on, let me just look this up real quick. Icarus. I don't know how you say it.
I don't know. I don't want to attempt it because I don't want to butcher it.
Yeah, but it's
from, isn't it? Icarus reminds me of the Icarus and his dad, Daedalus. The old like I think is it Greek?
Oh,
mythology?
Yeah. That's what the name is based off of. But what it was is this guy was doing a documentary on cycling, how cyclists would dope themselves, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it was supposed to be a documentary on that, and then he uncovered like this whole scandal with Russia.
Whoa!
About how they've been cheating in the Olympics like all these years, and like it took this huge twist, dude. I'm like, holy fuck! Like you were meaning to tell this story, but then you like uncovered this whole other thing, and like the guy that got involved with it worked for the Olympics for the Russians, I believe, and now he's in witness protection because of the documentary. Yeah, dude, like it was fucking. It's on Netflix. I mean, I would totally recommend it because like, it was like one of those movies. I'm like, maybe I'll watch it, learn something about cyclists and doping and whatever. And then like a whole twist happened. I'm like, what am I even watching now? Like, dude.
Right? Oh, that's so crazy.
And just the fact.
What movie is it? It's that one documentary that like if you watch, you're guaranteed to cry. And it's like about it's basically a documentary about this kid's dad. Like it's like a letter to what is it? It's like some letters to David. I don't know. Like I'll have to find it, dude.
It's what made me cry though?
Oh, dude, yeah. It's
like a good cry or like an ugly cry?
Dude, probably like an ugly cry, dude. To be honest, I'm sure someone knows what I'm talking about. Maybe I don't know if I'm describing it well enough, but it's yeah, it's like I think it's called Dear David, Dear Daniel, Dear someone,
Dear Zachary,
Dear Zachary.
Dear Zachary, a letter to the son about his father.
Yeah, dude. Have you ever seen that?
No, it is on Amazon Prime. No, I have not seen it.
Bro, like watch that and then like call me. It's one of those documentaries where you're like, oh, okay, this is like cute and like, you know, family oriented, whatever. Like don't look into it at all. Don't look into it at all. Just like
I'll walk into it blind.
I have to walk into it blind. but it just takes some really wild things happen in it, and yeah, it's really good though. It's really good. I really enjoyed it.
Have you seen have you seen Tiger King? Since that
Oh
was like
yeah,
the quarantine hot topic right as it hit.
yeah, for sure.
So that was kind of wild too, how like the not uncovered, well, I mean possibly uncovered, um, this whole conspiracy that like this lady murdered her husband.
Oh yeah.
Even though it's supposed to be a documentary about this guy, but like you realize like this whole thing about like these big cat parks are just like it's like a whole underground like a
Well, dude, it's a weird like it's its own like commune
yeah.
type system of like tiger owners.
Yeah, and
Weird.
you're just like, who the fuck are these people? Like, what? And then like, I love how like there's a rumor that she murdered her husband, and all the big cat people knew about this rumor, and they're like, oh yeah, she totally did, and like they're just saying it so casually, and as viewers, you're like, what?
What? Yeah, yeah.
Just making a documentary like that. I think that'd probably be the joy of making a documentary. Is just finding those random pieces of moments where like it turns into a whole other area than like what you're expecting it to go. You know?
Yeah, because I mean, the premise of Tiger King itself is like a fun, interesting like piece that you're like, oh, this could totally be a documentary. Like, it's just a weird group of people who own tigers or whatever. But then you have like that added layer of being like, oh, I didn't know this was all right. I guess we're taking this direction. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that's definitely like the fun part about documentary filmmaking for sure.
Dude, that's cool. I didn't know you were doing documentaries though. That's fun. Like,
Yeah, it's fun. It's I mean, obviously not doing anything right in this second, but
yeah.
But you know, yeah, it's fun. The ones that we did were fun.
That's cool. Were they like were they longer or were they more short documentaries?
So like back in film school, we had like a documentary class, and that was like the first one I probably really did, and that was a 30-minute documentary,
Yeah.
and it was on like the local breakdancing scene in Salt Lake, and looking back, that one could have been a lot better, but I was just barely learning like really what documentary filmmaking is like. Um, so that one was fun, and then I made a small little, very very short 4-minute documentary thing with Deuce um, last year or something, where we interviewed like a metal sculptor guy, and and that ended up going to a couple different festivals and stuff.
Is that the one he was?
With
That's the
that
one.
bird
What was
from
that?
Doc Utah. He has
Yeah.
like a little he has like a little bird trophy or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it won like audience choice in the short film category that year.
Ye-
Yeah, but yeah, that one was fun. That one was really fun. It was funny because that one was like it's literally 4 minutes long. Like it could just be like a little Facebook video, but it kind of turned into something bigger, and then it got into I don't even know what other festivals it's in right now, but
Yeah.
got into a couple.
It's still going, right?
Yeah, it's still going. Like
I think yeah. So I think he was talking about that one when he was on, and I think he was talking about putting it out on Amazon eventually. I think.
yeah.
Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong, but I
I mean,
believe.
I don't know. Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, I don't even know what the future of that documentary is, and I shot it, so like, I don't know, but yeah, that was fun, and then like, and then we both worked on this one that he's cutting together right now, about I don't know if I should say, I don't know. Am I allowed to say or no? I don't know.
Is this the one when you went to LA?
No. Oh, when I went to LA to visit Deuce?
Yeah, and you guys made something.
Yeah, no, that was just to visit Deuce, and then we ended up meeting up with Fatima, and we shot like a quick little like scene between her and like someone else for her reel or something.
Okay.
And so yeah, that was kind of whatever. But
okay. Don't say anything about this one then, because I don't know.
yeah, no, I won't say anything. I'm like, if he didn't tell you anything, then I won't say anything.
Yeah,
But anyways,
we'll play it safe.
He's cutting up something that we're working on.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So it's fun, dude.
That's exciting. What are you accomplishing by pursuing cinematography as a passion?
What am I accomplishing? Like,
yeah.
Well, my plans are to go to the moon. Once I learn enough cinematography, I'm just gonna colonize the moon, and we'll accomplish. I'm just kidding. I have no idea. I don't know that. I mean, not really accomplish anything. I think the main thing is I just want to tell more stories, dude. Like I just want to like make more stuff, like, and just get better at making stuff. You know, like doing projects and stuff, and like just kind of doing that. Like I never really thought about like, oh, I want to like, I don't know, accomplish X thing in cinematography. Like there's definitely like maybe like goals that I have for myself, but not like accomplish is like a weird term to me. Mainly I just want to keep making things and keep telling stories with people that I like to tell stories with, and yeah, that's it, man. You know.
Do you have any fears pursuing it?
I think I used to, but now I feel like I'm so deep into this shit that like I can't really. I don't know. Like it would take a lot for me to like back out now, because then it would feel like a lot of wasted time. And there hasn't been anything that's come up where I felt like I've had to put it on the back burner.
Yeah.
Obviously, through COVID, like everyone has to kind of put everything on a hold. But in general, though, there's any time like where I feel like freelancing, where I'm like, oh man, maybe I should probably get a job soon. Like, haven't had work in a minute or whatever. Like something always pops up and it works out fine. But yeah, as far as like cinematography as a whole, like, I mean, maybe the only fear that I would have is like not gaining the respect of like peers of other people that I look up to as far as like in the same field. Maybe. But I think even over time I would learn to not care about that as much. Does that make sense? Like,
no, that makes total sense.
Like I'd like to think that like eventually I would not have to care if, you know, Roger Deakins or Bradford Young or Libatique or anyone thought that my shit was shitty. Like obviously that would suck, but like I don't know. But I feel like at the same time, like that's part of the journey where it's like at a certain point you kind of have to like just not care about those kind of things. And this isn't saying like they don't even know me at all, obviously, but but even just on a peer-to-peer level, you know. Yeah.
Do you have like a director you hope to collaborate with down the road, like a favorite filmmaker of yours?
You, bro, we haven't done anything.
You're not wrong.
No. To be honest though, yeah, like I don't like to think like too far, like that kind of a thing. Like, oh, I would love to work with Scorsese or love to work with, you know, whoever these other people are. Like, because to be honest, like I like to approach things, look at things more from like a grassroots level of like, I'd like to work with people who I feel I have like a
good connection
with that I could actually work with and do stuff with. So for example, you know, we've worked on the same set together and you've helped me with a few things and we've both helped to do some a couple things and stuff like that. but we have never worked together on like a director TV level. So something like that would be fun. I admire like for example, other local people. Like I admire, like Justice for sure. Like I've been talking to him a little bit more recently and stuff, and like I just like his like I think he has like a vast amount more knowledge than I do, probably. So I think it would just be cool to I would just pick up things from him here and there. But I think also like he seems to have a cool system down for certain pre-production stuff, which is fun. So working with him would be cool. I really like all of Michael Bailiff stuff. Bailiff. I don't know how to say his last name, but
yeah,
his stuff is always like super inspiring and super cool. So like one day if I worked with him, for sure, like, that'd be cool. And I'm sure there's like a ton of other people, to be honest, but like off the top of my head, probably. And obviously, like, you know, I've worked with Deuce and I will continue to work with Deuce. But as far as like new people, like, yeah.
Yeah, I think you and Deuce are inseparable at this point.
Yeah, kind of. It's weird. But
it's like, yeah. if he has a project going on, it's like, oh, is John going to be a part of it? Mm-hmm. And it better be a yes.
Right. Yeah, sorry, one sec. Oh, shit. Sorry. Okay.
Where'd you go?
Yeah, there I am. Sorry.
You're good. Speaking of Michael, though, I've been talking to him to try to get him on.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah. That'd be a fun one. I saw his stuff. I don't know. He's talented. Him and James Morris both. They're fun. They're fun guys and they're really nice. Really down to earth people.
Got a really cool thing going on for sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's start wrapping this up then, because I know it's dinner time for some people. Like me. Yeah. I want Chinese food.
I was going to say, I'm like, I need to go eat some rice, kimchi, and an egg, dude.
Yeah, I have leftover Chinese food from my parents' house in my fridge that I want to gobble up.
Yeah, you live in your own apartment now, don't you?
Yeah. I live
fuck yeah, dude.
Places. I'll tell you where I live off air.
Yo, one thing, real quick. You should really not film with the window backlighting you.
Oh, I know. You're just like the third, fourth person. It's because it keeps fluctuating. I know. I need to buy curtains or something for it, but
curtains would be nice. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, that's off topic.
Got to work with what I got, you know.
Oh yeah.
I know. Is it bad? I don't know.
It's only bad when you know. Yeah.
When I go.
Now it just got really bad.
Overexposed. Yeah. Okay. How do you hope you can inspire others with your craft?
I don't know, just by being an open door. I don't know, like because I feel like no matter what, I won't have enough knowledge to where I feel like I should be telling anyone anything.
Yeah.
But more of like the idea of like, if people have questions or have just questions about like what I think about this or why I did this or et cetera, et cetera. Like, I don't know, just kind of being an open door, because I feel like for me, a big part of my growth, you know, as a filmmaker, cinematographer, whatever, is the fact that everyone who I've worked with up until this point have been very open about their methods, their techniques, their opinions, their philosophies, their approaches. And so for me, I feel like I would hope to be able to just continue that pathway, even if I can't offer, you know, the level of experience that obviously some of the people who have offered me, you know, but just to be open and, you know, unintimidating in every way.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't know, just be humble. Just everyone should be humble and try not to let their egos get ahead of them. you know? And
Yeah.
yeah, because I feel like sometimes like that happens. I mean, it happens to me sometimes, but you just kind of have to check yourself, you know, and just be like, hey, we're all just trying to do what we do, you know?
I think that it happened to me, and I think that's part of the reason I had such a huge creative flunk. It's
Hmm.
because I was like so over myself.
Right.
And I had to take a step back and be like, nope, I don't know anything. And then
Right.
restarting the whole process. I think the restart's hard because like I was here at one point, and now I feel like I'm here, but
Hmm.
it's all working to get past here, you know, and go like even higher than here.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think it's always about like going back to your roots and your foundations, right?
Right.
Of I feel like anytime I'm dealt with a problem, like of course there's always innovative ways to solve it, but sometimes if it's like something's happening where you're like, oh, okay, like we need to figure out a solution to this or whatever, like the solution might just be like, okay, let's just go back to basics. Let's just turn this shit off here. Let's do this, blah, blah. Just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and just kind of rebuild yourself, right? So yeah, I think for me it's like just about continuing to like just improve all the time, but also I don't know, learning to be okay with times where you feel like you're not improving at all, because those happen all the time for sure. And then just being willing to like help out people, even if you don't think they're like, I don't know, if you don't think they're like producing the same level of content or writing at the same level as you or whatever. It's like, but being open enough, I guess, to be able to say, hey, like I didn't come out of the gate knowing fucking everything or anything at all, and I still don't know anything. So it's like, if you have a little bit to offer, do it. And yeah, I feel like I've had to learn that for sure.
And is that the one piece of advice you would leave somebody?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, just be humble, be open. I feel like you can learn something from everyone, you know. And I don't know, like advice for anyone in general.
Sure.
Uh,
Just
um,
I don't know, just like one piece of advice that stuck out with you throughout the years, you know.
I feel like one other big thing that isn't touched up on enough, at least I haven't seen enough, is attitude. So I feel like attitude for me trumps all, as far as like if you're working with someone. Because I think like obviously skills can be taught. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How to like use a C stand, how to like, you know, soften light or writing or whatever. But I think one thing that's like super important that most people don't pay attention to is just like having a good attitude when you approach anything. I think that's mainly the reason why people like you and other people who I've worked with like still are down to do stuff that's like, you know what I mean? It's just like because like they know that they'll at least have fun, you know.
And that's what it is for me, is just to like always have fun. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you're not having fun doing, like at least learning,
Mm-hmm.
then like you're probably in it for the wrong reasons, you know.
For sure, yeah, yeah,
Because
100.
I mean, like, because I mean, to learn something, I mean, for me in school especially, like to learn something was always kind of a drag if I wasn't interested in the subject, right? And
Yeah,
if this is going to be something that's going to be a drag on anybody, and you're not going to have fun in the process, it's like, then what's the point of even trying to pursue it? Because I feel like there's always something to learn, but you should always be having fun. And even if you fall short and like don't get to like where you want to be, that doesn't mean you're not having fun in the process. You know, there's always moments, like especially with like you and I were talking about a little bit earlier, like on Deuce's set and like just working with you guys, like I had fun. And like
yeah,
what you
for
just said, like
sure.
it's all about the fun, and like I learned a lot from that, you know.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, yeah, just having fun, keeping it light, keeping it playful, still being productive. Obviously, like if it's a you're there for a reason, right? You're there to work, but at the same time, like no one wants to work with someone who's like full of themselves or like looks like they would rather not be there.
Yeah.
Doing something else. So yeah, I think that's like probably the best advice. I don't know. That's helped me the most. I feel like all the doors that have opened for me and have stayed open have only be because of attitude. Because I've definitely been given opportunities to do certain things where like probably wouldn't be qualified otherwise necessarily. But I feel like I was given those because I have a positive attitude and I'm willing to learn things.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Jonathan,
Mr. Chaz.
I think that does it.
Awesome. That was
drop your stuff. Like, where can people find you?
Oh no. So if you have a project or a script, I like reading stuff and I always want to work with new people. Reach me at my email, jsn.photo.video@gmail.com.
And that will be in the show notes.
In the show notes. And then, yeah, my Instagram, I mean, I'm not active enough on like Instagram to really like to plug it like that. But I don't know. Like if you email me, we'll talk. And then if you really want to know my Instagram, I can send you that. I guess, okay, I have a website, I guess. Okay, my portfolio website is jsncine.com.
Cool. No, that's cool.
You can find me there and you can email me through there too if you want to. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just want to work with different people and just make stuff. So don't be afraid to reach out because I promise I'm fun to work with.
You are, and I will vouch for that. If anybody says you're not, I'll second question them, be like, maybe it's you who's not cool.
No, yeah, it's fun. Appreciate you.
Yeah. What was that?
Oh, nothing. You're good.
Oh, okay. You can follow podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, over under podcast without the A because somebody took that. Whoever took that.
Really?
Yeah, somebody took it or it was like one letter too long. So
wait, over without the A?
Over under podcast without the A. So it's podcast.
Oh, okay. What's funny is I was searching for it earlier, like just like a week ago, and because I got a new phone, I'm actually on it right now. I joined the Apple Club. I joined it.
Why? I got a Samsung right here.
Dude, do well. Just because there's certain like apps that, like cinematography apps specifically, that only exist on. Yeah. But anyways, not getting on a tangent. I transferred everything over, and I was looking for the podcast. And I couldn't find it. I wasn't searching for it. And I had to replace the A and D with the actual symbol. And then I found it.
Oh, yeah.
So someone's looking for it and you just think it's over and under exposed. And you need to put the little squiggly.
Yeah, it has a little squiggly and symbol thing.
Yeah.
I made it so I hopefully on YouTube, because this will be released on YouTube. So my YouTube channel as well as Facebook. But like the video wise, I have it so if anybody mistypes it like over and under, it has like the word and spelled out.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Hopefully on YouTube it pulls up. I don't know. We'll see. But no, that is something. And like even like when I'm trying to tag out my own Facebook, I'm like, oh hey, new episode of Over and Under Artist Exposed. I have to type Artist Exposed because it won't find Over and Under. But once I type in Artist Exposed, like the whole page will pop up, and I'm like, it's weird. But
crazy. That's weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Algorithm's crazy.
Dude, fuck algorithm. And trying to understand it is weird. And like trying to understand SEOs, and I'm just like, I don't.
I don't even want to. Yeah.
Yeah. It's another thing, but okay. Well, Sir Jonathan, I will let you go. Thank you for coming on.
No, thank you for having me, man. It's been fun.
And we will work together after quarantine, I promise.
Yeah, dude, send me a fun script. I'd love to read it.
Yeah, dude. Fuck yeah. Let's fucking do it.
Do something. We got Zoom, bro. Look at us. We're on Zoom.
We are in Zoom. Let's make a Zoom movie.
Technology, dude. The world is ours.
You've been Zoomed. But all right. I will talk to you later, sir.
All right, sweet man. Have a good rest of your night.
You too.